Sometimes it is enough to look at an old photograph for the heart to ache. We hold in our memory the faces of those who are no longer with us. Some have left recently, others many years ago. Yet the feelings remain the same, as if they hugged us just yesterday, said important words, smiled at us. We continue to talk to them, remember their habits, the scent of their perfume, their voice. And along with these memories, a very simple yet strong question arises in our souls. What if this is not the end? What if we will meet again? As we age, such thoughts come more frequently. Parents, siblings, friends leave, sometimes even children. And in each farewell, there is hope that it is not forever, that there is a later where we can be together again, where we can say what we didn't have time to say, where we can simply sit beside each other in silence, without pain and haste. It is especially hard when a person leaves unexpectedly. The heart is unprepared. The soul doesn't have time to say goodbye. And then it becomes essential to know, will we see each other again? Will we recognize each other? Many fear that everything gets erased in the afterlife, that the soul loses its memory, forgets who it was and whom it loved. Does it simply become light, without a past and a name? Or does it still keep the threads that connected us in life? These questions trouble millions of people. They emerge in moments of silence, before sleep, when someone visits us in a dream, or when it suddenly seems that someone is in the room, even though you are alone. An elderly man named Richard shared that after his wife passed away, he greeted her every morning by the window. She loved to start the day with a cup of coffee and a view of the garden. And although more than 10 years have passed, he continues to set a second cup for her, because deep down he believes she is still nearby. And if there is another world, then she will recognize it. She will come close. She will smile. She will say, I remember you. There are thousands of similar stories. Some feel a touch, some hear a voice, some see a dream that stays in memory for many years, as if it was real life. All of this makes one ponder. If we feel them here, on earth, perhaps they feel us too. Maybe love and memory are stronger than the boundaries between worlds. When a loved one departs, one wants to believe that the bond is not broken, that somewhere, beyond the visible, it continues, just in a different form. Invisible, but real. We cannot prove it, we cannot measure it, but the heart suggests it is possible. And if it is possible, then one day we will meet again. And perhaps we will recognize each other, not by our faces, but by the light in our eyes, by a feeling that is unmistakable. When we ask ourselves the question, will we meet our loved ones after death? It is not just curiosity that lies behind it. It is not a philosophical debate or abstract thoughts. It is an attempt to cope with the pain of loss, with the longing that does not fade, no matter how much time passes. It is a desire to find hope, that everything that was between us, love, care, even grievances, did not disappear in vain, that there is something more than this life, that a meeting is still possible. Many cultures over the centuries have tried to answer this question. People have always believed that death is not an end, but a transition, that a person's soul does not die, but simply leaves the body and continues on its journey. But if the soul lives on, does it retain memories of earthly life? Or is everything reset? And then in the realm of souls, will we be mere strangers who accidentally passed by one another? The belief that souls will recognize each other is at the heart of consolation. After all, if everything is erased, then the very idea of meeting becomes empty. But if memory, feelings, and connection remain, then a light appears, a light of hope. Many share that in dreams or meditations, they have seen their departed loved ones and felt that they recognized them. Recognized not by their clothes, not by their faces, but by an internal sense, as if one soul touched another. Interestingly, even people who do not consider themselves religious often confess, I feel that he is somewhere nearby. Or, I dream of my mother, and it's such a real dream. as if she is alive again. Such experiences occur not only in times of grief, but also years later. This suggests that our internal connection with those we loved does not depend on time. But still, what is the basis of hope for recognition? Can the soul truly remember? Official science cannot confirm this yet, but thousands of accounts from people who have experienced clinical death or special spiritual experiences paint a remarkably similar picture. They say, "I saw those I love. I knew it was them, even if they looked different." Often, the feeling of recognition is described not through sight, but through the heart, as if there is some invisible thread that connects the souls to each other even after death. Many spiritual teachings explain it simply. The soul is not only energy, but also consciousness. And consciousness encompasses experience, emotions, memories. What makes us who we are? And if the soul retains consciousness, then it can remember. And if it can remember, then it is also capable of recognizing. Thus, the main question arises that troubles everyone. If my soul continues its journey after death, and my loved one's soul does too, will we be able to be together again? Will I recognize my husband, my mother, my child? And if so, how will it happen? Not through eyes, not through voice, but on a level of something deeper, something that defies description, but exists. When the body dies, it seems that everything disappears. Habits, voice, gait, even gaze. Everything remains in the past. But there is something that does not disappear along with the body. It is the inner essence, the energy, what is called the soul. And the main question is, does the soul carry with it the memory of what has been lived? Or, upon leaving the physical body, does it become a blank slate, forgetting everything that happened on earth? Many who have experienced the state between life and death assert memory is preserved. Not just facts, but feelings too. People recount seeing in that world those they loved and immediately understanding who was in front of them, even if that person looked different. This recognition happened not through appearance, but through a profound internal sensation. One woman named Margaret, who experienced clinical death after heart surgery, shared that she found herself in a bright space where her deceased husband approached her. He had passed away 10 years prior. However, she did not see his face as she had in life. She simply knew it was him. She felt his warmth, his care, his voice, not through her ears, but from within. According to her, everything calmed down immediately because I knew that the one I love was nearby. Such stories are not unique. Thousands of people around the world describe similar experiences. Some even claim to have remembered moments from past lives, as if the soul carries within it not only this life, but the experiences of other incarnations. If that is the case, then it is all the more logical to assume. If the soul can remember the distant past, it certainly remembers those it loved in this life. Interestingly, memories, according to witnesses, do not remain as clear images, but as feelings, states. A person may not remember what exactly their father said before death, but they feel the same love, the same support as when they were a child. In the world of souls, there are no words, but feelings become clearer than ever. From a scientific standpoint, it cannot be measured by instruments yet. But can everything that is important be measured? We cannot weigh love, measure sorrow with a ruler, or count kindness. But we know it exists. And perhaps the memory of the soul exists too. Not logical, as in the brain, but emotional, profound, connected to the very essence of a person. If the soul truly carries experience with it, then there is no reason to think it loses its loved ones. On the contrary, it is through the memory of love, care, shared moments that the soul retains its integrity. And perhaps it is this memory that becomes the bridge over which one day we will reunite with those we have lost. Without words, without external signs, we will simply feel how a familiar warmth arises in our hearts. Love is not just a feeling. It is a force that can't be touched but cannot be destroyed. Even after death, it continues to exist. Loved ones are connected not only through words, gestures, or memories, but also on an energetic level. This connection does not disappear when someone leaves. On the contrary, it becomes purer, stronger, like a gentle light that burns within us. There are many accounts of how people feel the presence of those who have departed. Some sense the scent of the perfume that their mother loved. Some hear footsteps in an empty room. Some see a dream that seems more real than life itself. All of this may be a manifestation of that very energetic thread that connects us to our loved ones even through death. The story of brother and sister, Robert and Helen, is a testament to this. They were very close. They grew up together, supported each other through all difficulties. When Robert fell seriously ill, Helen hardly left his bedside. After his death, she found it particularly hard. But just a few days later, she began to have dreams in which he appeared. In these dreams, he did not say anything special, just sat beside her, holding her hand. She would wake up with a feeling of peace and an amazing warmth. One night she dreamed that he was standing in the doorway of her kitchen, smiling and nodding. The next day, she made an important decision that she had long avoided, to move to another city, to start anew. She said, "I realized he was giving me a sign, that he is near and that I can move forward." Many may say, it is just the workings of imagination. Perhaps. But then why do these dreams come at precisely the moments they are most needed? Why do people, even those who do not believe in an afterlife, suddenly feel that someone is invisibly nearby? The energetic bond between close souls can be stronger than any doubts. Such a bond requires no words. It does not weaken over time. It does not depend on distances, and even death cannot sever it, because true love is not something that lives in the body. It lives in the soul. And if the soul continues to exist, then love continues to be. According to those who study spiritual practices, a channel remains between kindred souls, through which feelings, support, and even advice are communicated. Sometimes, we act as if someone is nudging us, guiding us invisibly. And perhaps this is those we loved. They are still with us, just in a different form. When we think about meeting in the world of souls, we are often troubled by one question. How will we recognize each other if we no longer have bodies, faces, voices? Here on earth, these are the very signs by which we identify one another. But in the spiritual reality, according to those who have experienced special states of consciousness, recognition happens differently, not through eyes, but through the heart. Those who have returned after clinical death often recount experiences of light beings surrounded by warmth. They say they recognized their loved ones instantly, even though their appearance was completely different. Sometimes they were just silhouettes, at other times, figures of light. But the presence was felt clearly and without doubt, as if the soul reacts not to the external image, but to the internal essence. One man named Thomas shared that after a serious accident, his heart stopped for several minutes. He described how he found himself in a space filled with soft glow, where he sensed someone approaching him. There were no words, no faces, but he knew it was his grandfather, whom he had lost in childhood. He felt a familiar warmth, a sense of safety, and a special bond that could not be mistaken. Such descriptions repeat again and again. People say that in the realm of souls, recognition is not a cognitive process, but an instant internal knowing. There is no need to ask, "Is it you?" Because at that moment, doubts simply do not arise. Souls, especially those that were close in life, possess similar vibrations. Their energy resonates with each other. When they meet, it feels like a familiar scent, a beloved song, a home, but without words or images. There is an opinion that the soul has its own imprint, something unique that makes it recognizable among millions of others. This imprint is intuitively felt, like when you recognize a loved one in a crowd by their gait, or even by how they are silent. In the world of souls, everything happens even faster and clearer, because nothing interferes with this connection. Moreover, in such meetings, feelings are more important than memories. Souls recognize each other by love, by warmth, by unfinished stories. Sometimes even former enemies meet again to understand each other and let go of old grievances. But when it comes to family, a mother, a spouse, a child, The connection acts like a magnet. It pulls, it calls, it provides assurance that you are not alone. And if in earthly life it sometimes takes time to discern our feelings, then there, according to witnesses, everything becomes clear immediately. Recognition occurs on a deep level, like returning home. And this offers comfort. We will not lose our loved ones. We will meet them, just in a different way. Everything related to the soul transcends logic, especially when it comes to love and forgiveness. These feelings are the strongest threads that connect people even after death. Many spiritual traditions assert if there was love or an unfinished story between you in life, the chance for a posthumous meeting becomes even higher because the soul seeks to complete, heal, and understand. It reaches towards where feelings remain. Often it happens that it is precisely forgiveness that becomes the key to a meeting. Not necessarily aloud. Sometimes, even in life, people do not have time to say, I forgive you or forgive me. But the soul feels that it is necessary. And even after death, it seeks a way to do it. Through dreams, signs, sensations, or through meetings in another world. The story of Dorothy touched many. Her son died in his youth as a result of an accidental conflict in which very harsh words were spoken. She lived for many years with a sense of guilt because on the day of his death, they had quarreled. She did not have time to apologize. She did not get to embrace him one last time. This pain became a shadow that followed her everywhere. But one day, years later, she had a dream. In the dream, her son was standing at the threshold of the room, just as he was in life, slightly older than a teenager, with a gentle smile and the familiar way of keeping his hands in his pockets. He approached her, embraced her, and said only one phrase, I forgive you, Mom. She woke up in tears, but her heart felt a sense of peace that had been absent for many years. From that day on, she said, she stopped waking with a heaviness in her chest, as if a knot had unraveled. Such moments demonstrate how powerful love and forgiveness connect souls. Sometimes this bond even arises between those who did not get along in life, because in that world, only the main thing remains, feelings. Everything else gets erased. Grievances, fears, misunderstandings, they dissolve when there is an inner longing for forgiveness. Love also continues to live. It does not need proof, it simply exists. Especially if it is love between parents and children, between spouses, among friends who shared life. This love becomes an anchor that keeps the souls together. Even if one has already left while the other still lives, a flow remains between them. Sometimes it is barely noticeable, like a gentle touch. At other times, like a powerful wave crashing over you. In a world without bodies and words, feelings become the language. And if there is still love between you, even in its simplest form, you will surely recognize each other. And if there is something unsaid between you, forgiveness will help complete it. Souls find each other not because they remember faces, but because they remember how they loved and how they wanted to forgive. Sometimes a worry arises deep within the soul. What if we do not recognize each other after death? If memory fades, if feelings dissolve, if everything that was so dear becomes an empty place? This thought is especially hard for those who lost a loved one long ago, who fear that over time the images will fade, becoming blurred like an old photograph. But it is worth recalling how the heart works. Even if we forget the details, the voice, facial features, specific moments, the feeling does not vanish. It may quiet down, but it does not leave. Love, care, tenderness, gratitude, all of this continues to live within us, like a gentle light, like an invisible thread that stretches across time. And if this is true in life, why would it disappear after death? Spiritual practices suggest that even if a person's consciousness undergoes purification, if something gets erased, the most important feelings remain. Because these feelings form the essence of the soul. The eternal part of us is not a name, not an age, not habits. It is how we felt. It is how we loved. And that means, even if the meeting does not happen immediately, Even if recognition is not instant, it will still occur. There are stories of people who have had near-death experiences recalling, "At first, I did not understand who was in front of me, but then I was overwhelmed by a feeling of such closeness, as if I had known this person my whole life." This is not a logical recognition, but an internal one, and it comes as soon as the soul opens up. Fear disappears, leaving only calmness, because the one you are searching for is already nearby. It is hard for us to imagine this in earthly terms. Here, we identify each other by appearance, voice, familiar features. But in a world where bodies are no longer needed, only essence remains. And it turns out to be the main thing: the fear of forgetting, the fear of not recognizing. These are earthly, temporary fears. In the world of souls, there are no such fears. There is acceptance, clarity, and warmth. And everything important remains, just in a different form. Each soul follows its own path. And on this journey, the main thing is not loneliness, but return. We come into this world not by chance. We meet those who become our meaning. We spend years with them, and then we learn to let go. But even when we part, somewhere inside remains the feeling: this is not the end yet. This is a pause, a break, before a meeting. For those who have lost loved ones, it is especially hard to believe they are nearby. But if you listen to yourself, to that quiet voice that sounds in your heart, you can feel this connection has not been severed. It has become invisible, but it has not disappeared. It lives in memories, in dreams, in a random melody, in a scent, in the wind that touches your face. And most importantly, it lives in love. The world of souls is not separated from us by an impenetrable wall. It is closer than it seems, and a meeting will inevitably occur. It may not be as we imagine, without words, without external images, but it will happen. Because love leads. It pulls one soul toward another, even across space, time, and death, especially if this love has not ended, especially if we continue to love. There is no right way to grieve a loss. There is no magic word that will take away the pain. But there is the knowledge that the one we loved has not disappeared. They have simply become something different, lighter, freer, and they are waiting. Somewhere where there is no pain, where there is only calmness, where recognition occurs not through the body, but through the light that recognizes light. Time does not destroy a true connection. Age does not erase the soul's memories. And death does not put a period at the end of love. It merely opens a door to another room. And when our day comes, that door will open for us too. And there, beyond the threshold, we will be met. We will recognize them, not with our minds, not with our eyes, but with our hearts. And they will recognize us. As long as we are here, it is important to remember this: the love we give remains with us forever. It is our path, and it will lead us to where the meeting will again take place. Quiet, warm, real. And for now, we are not alone. We are loved. We are waited for. We are remembered. Thank you for watching. We hope this video has helped you find answers to important questions and brought a bit of peace to your soul. If the topic resonates with you, subscribe to the channel. There are many more interesting and meaningful episodes ahead. Also, share your thoughts and stories in the comments. Your opinion and experience are important to us. Thank you for being with us.